Just put it up here. All right, we are live. Welcome to the Orphans of Avraham. James, the idol smasher at gmail.com. Hangouts is going away August 1st.
Bummer.
So we're that's right here. I can learn more at YouTube webcam, but Hangouts on air is going away August 1st for quick streaming. Try yada 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 yada. So we might have to find a different format. Maybe we could broadcast to Skype. Maybe we just would get together and not have it for posterity. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, August 1st. It just got the when I hit start is when it popped up and said that. Yohanan, you were right. It's August 1st. Boom. That's it. We're out of here. Hola. Bien. Muy bien.
Perfecto.
How you doing?
I told everything's good. Everything's all right.
How's the weather?
Beautiful. It's the middle of the winter and it was 80 degrees.
Yohanan has made his way to Brazil.
Woo! Wow. Awesome.
Heck yeah. That's awesome, man. I want to know everything. I want to know the food. I want to know what grows there.
Just went to a one of those truck places that serves the food. It's the middle of the night, and you know they had the hamburgers and French fries. It was very nice.
Right on.
American food with a little Brazilian twist. That's all.
Right. Cool.
Well, that's awesome.
Not exactly 100% kosher, but you know, it is what it is. You can't really, you know. Sometimes you got to splurge. You know what I mean? You know, people are probably gonna probably break the chops and say, well, yeah, meat. You know, that was made by a goy. You know, it's sometimes you get kind of silly. You know, people get silly sometimes, and it is what it is. I don't understand why. If I don't understand about someone has to ask. Maybe what's the rabbi in? But I don't know. Okay, you can eat fish. You can eat fish from a non-Jew, right?
You can.
You can, yeah, because a fish doesn't have to be properly killed. Once you take it from the water, it's dead, right? So you can eat it. So you can go to a non-Jewish market and buy fish. It doesn't have right. That's the halacha. You can buy fish, and they can even cut it for you, right? They can even prepare it because fish is usually served cold. It's not cooked. So if it's not cooked, it's cold, then it's absolutely fine halakha according to halakha. But now, what I don't understand is the same thing with chickens and birds. Why is it that we can't eat chicken? The chicken doesn't have to be killed special.
It doesn't. The thumbnail.
James, you get my question?
I thought you had to do the thumbnail with the chicken, or is that just a dove?
That might be just a ritual sacrifice. I don't think that's the
chicken, yard bird's bigger.
As far as I know, you can just lob its head off. I don't think it's any special way of doing it.
Yeah.
So that's the homework assignment for tonight. So how's everyone doing? What's going on? What's the topic?
Well, Miriam dies and Aaron is coming up, and it's in this part of the Torah. I just really feel I get the sense of growing up and moving on. I don't know why I get that. I think it's with Miriam's death, the prophetess, sister of Moses. This is when another generation is starting to take over, and which made me reflect personally. And one of the things I was going to talk about was really, it's almost like this really is the human experience, the Torah. When you get down to it, and I think it's everyone's experience where we're going to be able to, when we get to a point in our life when we can see the promised land ahead, and we can see our kids moving closer to that, but we won't be able to make it. We won't be there with them. And at this point in the history, what we're talking about here, it just hit me, when your sister dies and you're not close behind, kind of a thing. When you realize there's fewer days ahead than behind, it's a bittersweet thing. I think when we come into this, when we go in and when Israel goes into the promise, it's a bittersweet thing. When Aaron gets disrobed, I'll cry. Because that old mentor has to die on for the young to take the reign and move things forward. So I thought about, one of the topics being the bittersweetness of growing up. And I think one of the great ways we can see it, maybe Joseph would be a good growing up story, certainly. And then Israel herself, because she's really making strides at this point. I mean, she's holding off Amalek. She's preparing. We have the Book of War. I was going to ask about that. And something else, and it's bugging me. I thought we could maybe talk about from the Parsha or related to the Parsha. Oh, the getting angry because we didn't get last week's topic, which is about it was Korach. Last week's topic, Parsha. Yeah. And the rebellion and how God dealt with the rebellion very publicly. And then we get Moses angry, saying, "You rebels," and getting infuriated and smashing that which he should have spoken. You know what I'm saying? And that cut him off from the promised land. So rebellion would be another topic we could discuss if you want to. William, welcome. Glad to see you here, sir. Shalom.
Shalom.
When Moses' anger, it's almost like I think he's expecting rebellion at this point. It would appear because, where is that? In 20.
I have to be honest, I didn't do studying for this week's Torah portion. I've been learning Genesis. I've been going over Genesis.
Oh,
I was, I wanted to start fresh for some reason, so I wanted to start from the beginning.
Well, but just to finish my point on this, because I'll talk Genesis any day, you know that. The cry from Israel was for water, and that's not rebellious to be angry that you can't have water or to be frustrated. I couldn't see that. I thought it was almost as if Moses was expecting a rebellion at this point.
Right.
Which might have something to do with why we do go to war and why we do have to have a revolution. And when rebellion works, if you want to think about it, the Exodus from Egypt was kind of a rebellious thing. There's a lot of rebellion in there. When you eat that, when you're eating their most sacred God, So, so that was something we could talk about as well. What are you studying in Genesis? I'm curious. What any insights that might have struck you this week, Yohanan, or anybody else?
Well, I finished up the book a couple of days ago, and it was I was doing a story about I was reading commentary on Joseph, and his exile to Egypt and that wonderful thing that happened to him. And no, it's just nothing in general, nothing in particular. Just just sharpening my how would you want to put it? My knowledge on the patriarchs and Joseph and Jacob and learning about it says in the Torah that Jacob never died. It never exactly says that he passed away. It says that Avraham passed away and Isaac passed away, and Joseph passed away, and all the matriarchs and patriarchs except for Jacob, which was interesting. That was very interesting. That he's the only Bible that Moses, like you're saying today, Miriam passes away. And it says it, and Moses passes away, and Aaron passes away, but for some reason, Jacob doesn't. So I found that interesting, and just like just sharpening my tools, sharpening my my noggin here.
Shalom,
I
Aaron.
apologize for not being prepared for the Parsha.
I'm glad you're here, man. So you got a beard cut, huh? I just want to say those photographs made my wife jealous because I always want to do my own beard, and she always wants to, shave it, and do it herself and call me pretty. And I'm like, no, I'm not pretty. This is bushly. See this right here? This right here is bushly. This is not pretty at all. There's nothing pretty about this. But no, she saw the photographs and she was like, well, why? Excuse me, why won't you do it? So I just wanted to thank you for that. Appreciate
She did a good job. I thought my wife did a pretty good job. Nice.
Yeah.
It was getting a little like on the sides. It gets kind of like a little. It gets a little like this.
Yeah.
So like she tuned it down a little bit. William's got a nice looking. Well, he's got like a goatee that that spreads the side. Yeah, I like that. Like it's like a combination between a handlebar mustache and a.
It won't grow over here. Over here is, I guess, okay.
Yeah, that looks good.
Yeah, how many guys have to work hard to get a beard like that? They got to trim it. That's natural. Nice.
Mine's all scraggly. I can't maintain it. Even when I try to cut all this, it just, I don't know, shaggy kind of thing going on.
The wife left the door open.
Mine's got little patches on the side.
Nice.
Amor, porta abrir. Porta fetter, por favor. Ay. Amen. Everyone say bracha for James. Only good things. Long, successful journey in the radio business. You're gonna be the big mocker soon. What's the word in the street about a job promotion?
Well, I don't know about any promotion, but we're working things out. My boss's last day was the other day, and so we're going to work things out. It'll take time, whatever it is. But
yeah, trying to groom you for that, right?
If I took the first shift, I'd have to get up at like 3 a.m, and that would be a definite change in my schedule compared to what I'm doing now. We'll see. I don't know. It's everything's up in the air, but thank you very much. I appreciate that very much.
No, of course. He was. I saw William, sipping on some nice bourbon whiskey. What were you drinking?
Flor de Caña.
Ah, nice.
Flor de Caña. I don't know if you can see that.
I can see.
I've got this.
I remember Rabbi Asher was talking about maybe we could smoke cigars, drink a little bit while we're, studying some Torah.
Ah, nice. Baruch Hashem. Drinking's good for you. I don't know about smoking, but drinking's definitely good for you.
As long as you're not overdoing it.
Right.
Like wine's good, right? I think wine's been proven to be good. Yeah. I don't drink much, just a little bit.
Okay, I gotta since you brought it up, I gotta do it. There's this Irishman at a pub, right? And the Irishman, he goes in every day at the pub and he orders 3 shots. And so one day, after a couple of months, the bartender, he says, why you get 3 shots? He goes, I get one for my father, I get one for my brother, and I get one for myself. And okay, some time goes by, and he only orders 2 shots. And the bartender says, "Oh, what's that? So odd. You should get 3 shots, and you get 2 shots." I go, "Well, I still get the one." I go, "Well, I went to rehab, but I still drink for my father and my brother."
Nice.
So anyway.
I thought you were going to say, I drink one for the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
There you go. Hey, that would be even more. I should have did that, yeah. All right, I got a good Catholic joke since we're on the roll, okay?
All right.
All right, so we all know that the Catholics, they believe in absolution, right? Forgiveness of sin, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's two brothers, right? And the brother goes, I'm going to go to confession. All right, and it's like, okay, let's see what happens. And so he goes to the father. He says, forgive me, Father, for I sinned. I committed adultery. And the father says, you have to tell me who you slept with in order to be forgiven. And the brother goes, I can't tell you, sworn to secrecy. The father, please, you have to tell me, por favor. You don't tell me, you're not going to be forgiven. Father, that's it. I sworn to secrecy. I can't tell you. So the priest goes, was it Mary that lives on First Street? He goes, no, sworn to secrecy. Okay, was it Jennifer that lives on Flower Drive? No, I sworn to secrecy. The priest says, get out of here. You're not forgiven of your sins. So he leaves, and then he goes to his brother. He goes, the priest didn't forgive me my sins. So what's the point? He goes, well, at least I got two good leads.
Oh.
Ay.
Oh. I'm looking through my Kitzer Shulchan Aruch for Noahides. They used to call it. It's the divine code, but it goes into an extensive look at Everminha. I'm looking here about birds. I'm trying to find something on birds.
Oh, for my question that I asked earlier.
It says animals, but have to be dead. But let me. Dominion is granted over the.
Maybe William's the big Talmud Hakam in the room. Maybe he knows the answer.
No.
So my question earlier was that you can eat fish killed by a non-Jew, right? You technically, because when you take a fish from the water, it dies, right? That's how it dies, right? So it doesn't need to be properly slaughtered. There's no ritual slaughter for a fish. So you could technically, even a non-Jew could technically prepare the fish because they're using cold utensils, right? Because it's not cooking, it's not hot, right? Cold doesn't transfer, right? You know the shtick, right? So why isn't that same rules apply for birds like chicken and turkey? Why does a turkey and a chicken and fowl need to be ritually slaughtered if there's no real way to ritually slaughter it?
I got to leave.
There's no stipulation between milk and meat.
Yeah, and there's
No,
way
And the
to ritually-
possibility of looking like it's meat and making somebody sin.
it's not about mixing the meat and milk. It's about why can't you eat chicken that was killed by a goy?
Because a fish you don't have to ritually slaughter.
Yeah, it says in here, and this is he cites the Rambam Laws of Kings 9:13. The prohibition against eating flesh taken from a living animal applies only to domesticated mammals, wild mammals, and birds. In more general terms, these are the animals for which there is a Torah law distinction between their flesh and their blood. The kosher species status is of no consequence whatsoever to this prohibition.
Right, that's basically saying that a goy can eat whatever a goy can eat reptiles. He just needs to kill it.
But even for the goy, it doesn't apply to fish. It does say to birds, and that's according to the Rambam, though, Laws of Kings 9:13. So if you want to give me a second, I'll find that out. I'll look that up.
Okay, that's interesting.
It's something, I mean.
You got something there, yeah.
It's a lead. That's the sources mean so much more in this book than in my opinion, because that's where you go. You want to go to the good stuff. You know what I mean? You want to go to the source. You want to go after the Rambam. You want to ask where is in the Talmud.
I mean, as far as I know, there's no as far as I know, I want to know exactly if a chicken needs to be properly slaughtered to eat it first. Like a cow, like a cow, you have to ritually slaughter it.
Yeah, you have to ritually slaughter a chicken.
You do?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
you got to check it.
Okay. All right. Okay.
But my understanding is a goy can do it. I thought a goy could, as long as someone is there witnessing the
Okay. Okay. That's okay. That's somewhat
maybe I'm
answered.
wrong. I mean, I don't know. That's what I thought, though. I haven't really, done research.
See, I told you, Wilhelm. I told you you had all the answers. See?
You're the man.
Oh.
I really got to find a better way to navigate the Chabad website.
I'm gonna step away. At my battery's dying, so I gotta go get my cord. I'll be right back.
Alrighty.
Okay. I put out. I've been for my channel for the. I do a shameless promotion. I did. I did a little sort of a discussion with a Muslim. About so in Israel and from the Jewish perspective, we have something called the Shema, and we it's our like confession of faith. That Israel, God, God is one. And so Islam has a same thing called Shahada, and it's basically saying, God is one, and Muhammad's prophet, right? So it's kind of like it's basically the same thing except for the good old Mo is attached. And so I did a little discussion on the channel. It was really good. I really recommend that video. It was really good. It was about an hour long discussion. And we went on to different topics as well. The Muslim, we talked about rabbi worship. The Muslim said, well, Islam is really a better religion because we don't worship men, imams, and priests and stuff like gods like Jews do. They Jews worship rabbis, and we sort of talked about that a little bit. Why that's a problem, and in a way he's kind of right. We do that, and so that's if for those that are interesting, it's very educational. I thought it was anyway.
Yes.
I'm going to do a show every Sunday with a friend named James, another friend named James, and we're going to do different topics on Islam and Judaism, comparing the two. This coming Sunday, we're going to talk about martyrdom. So we're going to talk about the kosher version compared to the Muslim version or the Christian version.
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah. I do recommend the Shahada video, the Muslim profession of faith video comparing it to Shema, because we're just going by the text, we're going by Torah, we're not putting our conjecture into it, we're not putting our feelings into it. It's purely educational. So
that's awesome. That's awesome.
Aaron posted something in the outside. He says, anything which is forbidden to a Jew because of the prohibition of eating flesh from a living animal is also forbidden for a non-Jew. Mm-hmm. There are cases when it would be forbidden for a non-Jew, but not for a Jew. For a non-Jew, there is no difference of an animal or beast, whether it's kosher or non-kosher. I mean, that's basically saying Goyim can eat dirt if they want to. It doesn't really. I mean, okay. In all cases, non-Jews are obligated from the prohibition of eating a limb of a flesh of a live animal. Basically, again, chew on a turkey drum while it's still, flopping around. Limb and flesh, which are separated from quibbling animals, are forbidden from a non-Jew because of the prohibition, even if a Jew slaughter it and it has both signs. Wait, what's that last part mean? A quibbling animal?
Like when in its death throes, you can't eat the meat while the animal's still in its death throes. Even if it was removed while it was alive, the animal has to die first, and you have to know it's dead. It can't be pulsing, it can't be quivering, any of that. you know.
Well, the two signs is specifically referring to the two signs of the esophagus and the wait a minute. Is it the artery in the esophagus? Anyways, when they do the cut, there's two specific signs that you have to look for inside of a neck to make sure it was cut properly. Like it's either it didn't hit the vertebrae and it went straight through without tearing the esophagus, or it's the esophagus and the artery.
The two signs would be the chewing of the cut and the split hooves. I think that's what it means.
Well, because it's saying that even the non-Jew could do this with a kosher or with a non-kosher animal. It still has to be, if I'm understanding properly.
Yep. And yeah, so the laws of Noah do not include fish, but they do include birds. And in like I said, in the divine code, it shows the gutlet and the esophagus on the chicken and the cow.
Well, I mean, to me, basically, what you guys are showing me basically throws a whole wrench in the whole thing. Saying that, I mean, technically speaking, non-Jews are supposed to be eating kosher.
But we have to kosher slaughter. Technically, we the same technique you would apply to kosher animals, we have to apply to anything we eat, save things like dormice or the charrettes, that sort of stuff, insects, locusts or crickets that are kosher. But we still have to, if we have a cow, we have to kill it the same way, according to Noahide law.
So a non-Jew has to slaughter a cow the same way a Jew would slaughter his cow.
Yes, or as close to it as he can possibly get it.
That's not what I mean. That's I mean, they shoot a fucking gun in the head of the cows in America.
Remember, Noah made a kosher slaughter. God accepted his elevation offering. So he knew clean from unclean. But if we eat a pig, we have to put the same principles into killing that pig as we would a Jew doing it to an ox. Is the Noahide thing?
Okay. I don't see that actually happening. Like, to be honest with you, I see how American or any I don't wherever you are, Portuguese, European, they don't slaughter cows, chickens, birds, pigs. I mean, they put a rod in the head. They put a gun rod, and then that's how they do it. I mean,
yep.
Or they stun, or they zap them, like electrocute them.
You have to go to a private farmer. You have to go to an old school farm, a real, honest to goodness farm, to find meat where they do the best they can. And
it's almost like non-Jews have to keep kosher, but they get the bonus of eating reptiles and pigs.
We have to.
Get what I'm saying?
The slaughter has to be as close to kosher as we can possibly get it. I've had 2 rabbis tell me that. If we really want to follow the letter of the law, according to the rabbis, the Everman HaHai, you might as well just go eat kosher. Or since I don't have to eat kosher, I have to go to a farmer and make sure that he does it in the manner prescribed in the Torah. So, or which he goes to oral Torah for that. So there is technically, yes, going to McDonald's and having non-kosher beef is prohibited to a Noahide. Or a beef that wasn't properly slaughtered. I mean, that's, for some odd reason, these laws apply to us too when it comes to slaughtering. We're not prohibited from like saying the wrong prayer or the wrong blessing, but as far as shucking it, that one slit has to be as close to kosher as we can possibly get it. But yeah, we get the advantage of having lizards and whatever, and squirrel.
Kind of like the halal for Muslims, because they eat shrimp.
Right. I mean, basically, what we're saying here, you need a Noahide slaughter hechsher. You need like Muslims have halal, Jews have kosher, and then B'nai Noach needs like their own koshers. Whatever the equivalent would be of those two.
Well, I think that we would be smarter if we just direct the Noahides to Israel and eat kosher.
Right, I would say get rid of the labels and just be Jewish, right? Be Jewish.org, Rabbi Asher Mays' website.
Closest to Jewish as you can get.
And my understanding is that the process for a non-Jew to have a proper slaughter is only if he's going to offer a sacrifice, or if he is inside of the land, the territory of Israel. Outside of the territory, he can slaughter it any way that he wants for food consumption.
No prohibition for hunting, really, is there? And that's far from sure.
Wait. So you can, so a goy, if he wants to take an AK-47 and just mow down a bunch of cows, if he's living in Tennessee.
No, because we're given dominion, we have a responsibility according to the law.
Aaron just said that. Aaron just said that if you're not sacrificing it for God or eating it, or in Israel, you can just mow it down with a machine gun if you want to.
We have it. No, there is a permission. There is a permission that we can kill it how we see, whatever it takes to survive. Yes, there's no prohibition, but we have to. We're not allowed to cause undue suffering. Is how.
Well, a Jew do that too. I mean, if a Jew's starving to death and he needs to eat, he could just put a gun to a deer's head and eat it. Sure. I mean, life takes precedent.
Yeah, he's not. You can't punish. You can't punish. A dude from a dude from Kansas or whatever, deer hunting with a crossbow. That's going to feed his family for a half a year. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, but there is that, but because there is, we must not cause undue suffering. You can't do any more. Once you get to the animal, you have to kill it right then and there. Like you can't cause it further work.
Right. Well, and like common practice, to use bow hunting as an example, common practice is you shoot the deer and then you let it lay there until it bleeds out and dies, which is technically against Noahide laws because you're allowed to shoot the deer, but then you need to go up and end its life as quickly as possible.
Yeah. So
now you can't do that you couldn't do that if you were going to build an altar and then offer a sacrifice in your backyard to God. You would have to follow all the prescriptions for a sacrifice, which I'm not promoting, by the way.
Right. No, no. The according to the one Kitzer Shulchan Aruch, and it has to, if you're going to if you have the opportunity, it's got to be the one cut through the gullet, through the, it's got to, we don't get points off if the animal twitches and you don't get it all right, but we have to go as close as we can. To not causing any pain to the animal at all. I suggest just going kosher. Just do it. Just go to Israel and get your meat. You know what I mean? Like your Torah. You can get it from a Noahide like my sorry ass. I suggest you go to the Jews. I suggest you go to the rabbis. All I want to do is facilitate a conversation. I got nothing. Go to the rabbis. Go to the Jews. Go to Israel. That's where the goods are. You want to get as close. It's like, don't you want to be in covenant with God, or don't you want to be the true servants and not an outsider or second class, whatever they've been saying. It's you want to get as close to you want to be able to get as close to the Holy of Holies as you can get. And that's what you want to do. You want to be the kind of person that could go to Israel and have your offering welcome, whether it's some matzah for the priests or an ox for the priests, or if you just want to make a sin offering and have an elevation. You want to show up in your best attire. You want to be in your best behavior. If you're not Jewish, that's okay, because even the eunuch should be welcomed in the temple. So, it's still the Jews' temple. Don't get me wrong, but you want to, if you can't be Jewish, you got to get you want to be, you should be. Everything will work out better the closer you get to the Holy of Holies. The better the meat of the word, if you will. That's a Christian term, I know, but the meat of the word, the nourishment from Torah, the closer you get to Israel, the closer that you get to that Holy of Holies. Even when you approach God personally, there's something about you that is holy, not unlike the temple. That's where you need to be. I don't want to. I don't know where I'm going with this. It's off topic. Well, shut up. Somebody say something.
No, it's good. I'm learning a lot. I mean, I guess I never really, in the past really cared. No offense, but I mean, it's good to know, I guess. Interesting.
They used to describe the Noahides as the colors of the world.
That sounds.
I just think that they need to be I like my old rabbi. He said, "You're one of us now. You're part of us. No, you're not Jewish, but you're going to be the ones grabbing a hold of my tzitzit, and we're going to Israel, and we're going to have a party like you won't believe. When Mashiach comes, you're coming with us, and we'll take care of you from there on out." That was his, that was his mantra, if you will. Not mantra. It's a whole. There you go. You're coming with us. And it's like, there's no way the Jew can make me rest. The Jew can't rest me in Oklahoma City. Not properly. So he can't fulfill that mitzvot. He's not in Israel. I'm not either. However, we both got our eye on the pie. We both got our eye on the prize. I know where God's at. I know what Israel's for, man. And I'm with them. And, that's where I don't know if I can be them yet, and it might not be. It's actually caused problems with here at home when the wife hears, well, so you're not going to convert because we're not Jewish, and it's like, well, I can't, I'm not going to be raising Jewish children, so what's the point for me to be Jewish? And she took that personally when she hears me griping and people, yelling at people, and it kind of hurt her feelings a bit. Sometimes it just can't happen. God's got other plans.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's all about being the best you can be. I mean, that's how I come down to it. I mean, we do everything we can, and I don't know. My faith in God is stronger than it's been the strongest it's ever been. I feel that God has led me to my destination. And he's always there for me. I know that's, maybe that's a superstitious thing to say. Maybe I'm just delusional, whatever the case may be, all of the above. But,
if this is delusion, this is the best delusion I've ever had.
I was on an atheist talk show about a week ago. About a week ago, a little over a week, and I, debating them. It was okay. It was actually pretty good. It was actually good back and forth until it got political at the end. The end of the show it went belly up. I mean, it went once they started get into politics and homosexuality. It's like the whole fucking topic went down the cockatubes. I mean, but it was actually a pretty good discussion. We were talking about how, evidence for God, and is what happens in our life good enough evidence to believe in it? Things like that. It was an interesting discussion. I don't know why I brought that up. Maybe it had something to do with, I don't know, something we were talking about. But yeah, I don't know. Kosher slaughter, no kosher slaughter. It's up to you, I guess. I mean, I'm not going to judge you either way. I mean, if you want to run out in the street and just chomp down on some, lizards, hey, go for it, or whatever, raccoons. You want to have a little raccoon barbecue? Sounds good to me. Or a nice, good old New York City hot dog, 100% rat. That's up to you. So.
Bittersweet.
I went to visit a friend upstate New York. I went to visit my friend William. He lives way past Albany, like up there and by Canada. And they hate people like me because every time, oh, you visiting, and they say where you're from, I would always say the city. Yeah. Oh, you're one of them.
Oh, a whole different breed.
I'm from. I go. Yeah. I'm actually from New York, not like here. You know. I mean, it was about like 400 people. Every town had probably about 1,000 people in it. You know, no more than 1,000 people every time. So I was up by Saratoga, up there. You know, where the racetrack is. You know. So
Beautiful country up there.
beautiful country. Yeah, the Catskills, the bungalow colonies. Yeah. Well, it was, it was what it was, and it's they call us Flatlanders. That's that's the
They
that's the
haven't met
slang for
us.
us.
They haven't met us Midwesterners yet. You're a flatlander.
Right? They call people from Vermont gum chewers. I don't know what the hell that's supposed to mean. Gum chewers, which is kind of true. If you ever watch movies of like people from New England, they always look like they're chewing gum. You know, I don't know. They look like. I guess that's what it means. I guess. So it is what it is. What time is it over by you, James?
Coming up on 8 o'clock.
I got 9.
Yeah. I'm 11. Oy. I was gonna ask you, Jamie, if we could do if you could do a 6 o'clock hangout, but no one would come around if you did 6 because no one's gonna be around.
It would be pushing it.
It would be pushing it. It'd probably be better for you to do it later than earlier. It'd probably be better for you to do 9. But
7's good.
7's
Because
good.
I come home from work and eat dinner and get right to it.
All right, good. Sorry, I'm not a chatty Cathy. I didn't have anything about the topic this week. I don't know.
Didn't Moses get water prior to this? In much the same, didn't he strike stones before?
Right. There's a discrepancy because Moses, when the people first complain, God sort of hits the rock and it gives forth water as a blessing, a bracha. But here Moses is punished, and God tells him, "Well, you should have spoke to the rock." And I don't remember exactly why that is. I think it has to do with the fact, if I remember correctly, that oh God, my head, I forgot. I think it was has to do with the fact that now that they have the Torah and they're sort of on their mission to the Holy Land, and they're about to enter the Holy Land. What does it say? I think it was supposed to be that they're supposed to be prepared to use their sort of their voice and their words instead of like violence, right? It's like,
Yep.
okay, maybe first you can get a little rough, right? But a real adult, like a real person with real wisdom, doesn't have to be like violent, right? A person that has like real knowledge could use his words to say what he really wants to discuss, right? Or
Supposed to be like this, like Spock, all logic, no emotion.
right, not leaving your emotions right and not right. It's no longer emotional. It's no longer physical. It's now you're supposed to be all grown up. Use your words.
Yes.
So that's the kind of the message, and it also compares to Miriam. Miriam dies, and of course the water dries out, right? Because Miriam's blessing was they had always had water, and so
I've got something interesting from the Stone edition. I've got my Humashim out.
this has to do with the water.
Or the rock, yeah. It says the definite article in the, when it says the rock. I looked that up. The rock indicates that this rock was a known rock. The sages teach that that God had created a rock that he used often as a source of miraculous waters. This was the rock that the angel revealed to Hagar when her son Ishmael was dying of thirst in Genesis 21:19. You bring that up to your Muslim friend. And from which Moses was commanded to draw water nearly 40 years earlier in Exodus 17:6. And that same rock accompanied the people throughout their wanderings as long as Miriam was alive. After her death, it ceased to yield water and remained hidden. That's according to the Ramban, Nachmanides. I thought I would pass that along.
Wait. How does Nachmanides? How does he wrap it all up? Say that one more time.
What's attributed to him? It said, here we go. It was the same rock that accompanied the people throughout their wanderings. I guess it was the same species of rock. I'm not a geologist. What do I know? As long as Miriam was alive. After her death, it ceased to yield water and was hidden. That part is attributed to the Ramban.
Oh, okay. He's basically saying Rambam believes that the rock is hidden. Okay.
After her death, yeah.
It's not that it's gone. I guess it's a misnomer to say that. Like the way I worded it earlier, I said, well, Miriam's bracha always had water and it went away. Technically, I guess it didn't go away. It's just not revealed to us in the same way it used to be. It's there, but only those who have, let him who have eyes see, That's interesting.
He was told to speak it. And we all know through our teachings that the Edomite lives by the sword. The Israelite lives by the word. One day, Israel overcomes Edom. One day, the word overcomes the sword. That's a traditional teaching anyway.
All right. It's backwards. The world we live in is upside down. I did a video about that, actually. I did a few videos. That you liked the one about the dreams, like the world, that the exile was simply a dream. I did another video basically saying that reality is basically a fantasy, and that the reason why we live in a fantasy world is because in real reality is that anything can actually happen. Like if you wish for something or you believed in something, you can actually make it come true. Here we don't have the ability to do anything because, like you were saying, the sword, the physicality is more powerful. So reality, the world it's kind of like upside down, right? So it's sort of flipped. Really, the way it's supposed to be is that man rules the physical, or spirituality is better or greater than the physical. But really, we live in this world. Edom, the Edomite Esav, is greater than his brother Yaakov. Right? Yaakov was a man that lived in tents, and he was really powerless compared to Esav. Esav was like one of the greatest men that ever lived, but in a wicked way. He was in an evil way. So there's two opinions. You can believe that one day that it's flipped, that that he has no more power, no physicality, and that has no power, no dominion over you, or you can believe that you can harness that, you can use that power, that evil, to rule and dominate, and use it for holiness and goodness, right? Because it's kind of like if you take your hands, right, and you try to and you have a big field and big garden, you want to plant tomatoes, and you just go by your hand and dig each hole separate. It takes you years to make a tomato field. You go forever if you just use your hands. But if you take an ox, right, and you put a plow to it, you can plow the field in an hour, right? So that's kind of like the theory, like harness the animal for holiness, and there's two ways of looking at it, really.
So you've elevated the animal.
Right. Yeah. See, people, that's how people, the Christian perspective or the Muslim perspective, this is where they get it wrong. They think good will one day vanquish the evil. Like they'll somehow, JC's going to come back and he's going to whip out his AK-47 and just start mowing down evil, right? That's kind of like, it's like an action film, right? It's silliness. It's completely nonsense. But that's not the way it works. That's not what the Torah says. The Torah, because evil is just an emulation of godliness. Evil comes from God. It doesn't really exist, really. Evil doesn't. It's like cold, right? Like Einstein once said, there's no such thing as cold. It's just an absence of hot, right? There's no such thing as darkness. Darkness doesn't exist. It's just an absence of light. And so what is evil? Just an absence of good, right? So you can't really vanquish evil. Doesn't exist. It's like saying you're going to eradicate darkness. Doesn't make sense, right? It's like the Jedi that run around in Star Wars and say, we're fighting against the darkness. Well, what are you fighting? Darkness doesn't exist. Just put on a light. You don't have to be a genius to know that, right? So really what you have to do is harness the light, harness that the essence of the physicality, that identity that you're you know what I'm saying? And then you flip it, you turn it. You use it on, you spin it on its head. And so that's really what, where it comes down to. That's what Hasidus teaches us. It's kind of like what,
You have to find the holy situation and everything.
Right. I mean, basically, anyone that says that they're fighting against evil, or you just laugh at them and you just walk away because they're obviously insane. I mean, what is that even supposed to mean? I mean, you can be you can sanctify God's name, right? You can bring a little holiness to the planet, because saying you fight evil, that means you don't believe in God. That's what basically when I hear a Christian saying, "Well, I spread the good news of JC because I'm fighting evil," that doesn't make any sense. God's everywhere. God's all places.
Isaiah says, "I make peace. I create evil. I am the Lord. I am the Lord that doeth all these things."
Yeah, you can't go against reality. I mean, what are you saying? You fight against?
If you're confused, my thing would be on a base level. Evil, or what we see as bad. I've been told don't say evil when they say the tree of good and evil. It's supposed to be the tree of good and bad. I was told not to say evil. For some reason,
that's not actually what it's even called. It's called it's called the tree of knowledge, of the tree of knowing good and evil. Well, I guess you're right. It is bad. Go ahead, Jim. Sorry.
If there's anything evil's there for, it's to teach us what is good. It's not going away. It's going to walk parallel with you all your life. But at least it tells you where the path is. You know what I'm saying?
I heard once that's like it's like an idiom for knowing everything, good and evil, like knowing it all. So, which is unfortunate because we only want to know what Hashem wants. But I guess we wanted to know if we could do it on our own. Like find our own way.
Adam and Eve didn't sin, right? Adam and Eve did nothing wrong, right? I mean, what they did was, instead of following one path, see, it's like two options, right? You have the Torah, right, the tree of life, and the tree of knowledge, right? It's like if you buy an operating manual, right, and you buy something new, right? You buy a microwave, an oven, comes with an operating manual, right? Now, you could technically operate the machine without the operating manual, right? You can use it the way you want to, right? That's kind of like the tree of knowledge. Adam and Eve wanted to live in the world the way they wanted to. They wanted to eat shellfish, right? They didn't want to eat kosher. They wanted to eat pork. They didn't want to keep Shabbos. They wanted this, right? You get what I'm saying? So it's like they wanted their own path. Not necessarily wrong. There's nothing evil about that. That's not a sin. That's not an aveva. A real aveva, right? An aveva, a sin, is when you absolutely go against God's will. You're absolutely opposed to godliness.
Right.
That's an Avera.
Well,
Adam is
God put curiosity in our soul. And really that's what the whole story is about. I mean, if you look at the Midrash, you know, she didn't know better. She's, you know, she didn't know any different. You know, Adam put up a fence and don't even touch it. Like, don't even go near it, you know. And the serpent used that on Eve. She was kind of, you know, what was she supposed to think? If the serpent actually pushed her against the tree and said, see, nothing happened, what else have you been lied to about? Or about what have you been lied to also? You can kind of see where she's coming from. And Adam finally found his other half, you know? And she's eating and she's living and she's awakened. Can you really fault Adam for that? Now, they didn't take responsibility for it, but just the action of eating alone, the Christians like to say that's what did it. That was the undoing. And okay, I don't think God put them in that situation not knowing what would happen. Okay, I don't think God's stupid. Just
I mean, the way
wrong, huh?
The way the Christians kind of believe in it, the Adam and Eve story, it's like God put these two people in a room with a loaded machine gun and told them not to play with the machine gun, and didn't even tell them that they, you know, it has a trigger that it can shoot bullets and kill you. And like Eve starts pulling the trigger, you know what I mean? It's like it makes God seem like an idiot. It makes God seem like he's a
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It makes God seem like he's he purposely killed people. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, well, when they bring that up, I Dennis Prager had like a real good teaching on that, and he was like, I'm probably embellishing here a little bit, but when you really think about it, Hashem took Adam to the animals first before he chose a wife. He took him to the animals. Said, pick one of these. All right, but Adam, after examining all the animals, he couldn't find a mate that was equal to him. Right? So fast forward, who deceives them? It's an animal that deceives them. So it's not like God didn't warn them. He already had a lesson that you can't behave like an animal. And here is an animal, the serpent, right, who's telling Adam and Eve, because they were both there, saying, look, be like me. Be like me. Just succumb to your carnal nature. And they did. Her eyes, saw something good, what she perceived as good, and it was a carnal desire. In my opinion, not just my opinion, actually, I got that from Dennis Prager. And so it's not like God didn't give them a lesson first. Adam already knew, I'm not an animal. I may be part animal. I may have been created somewhat like an animal, but I have a neshama. I'm actually higher, and I am not gonna feel fulfilled if I behave like an animal.
Doesn't Genesis say he went everywhere looking for? He courted, if you will, every animal in the garden.
That's what the rabbis say. The rabbis say that he actually he did. He courted.
He learned every animal. So the serpent he would have already come in contact with, wouldn't he? I mean,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. So he knew better. He
did know better. And Eve received. I mean, they ask you the first sin in the Bible, and everyone goes straight for the tree, but nobody stops and thinks about when Eve replies, God said, "Don't even touch it." Well, that's not written anywhere.
Maybe that's the big question, right? The midrash, the big question, and that's the point of the midrash, is that we don't know if Eve heard the commandment correctly, or if Adam related to Eve. Either way, Adam was there, and he should have stepped up and said, look, the reason you were created, right, is because we are not like them. But he didn't say anything.
Right. The difference is the name for Eve, right? Chaya,
Chava.
Hava comes from the word Chaya, which means living. Right. That's why God. That's why he named. That's why Adam calls names her mother of life. Right. So why is he called the? Why is she called the mother of life? Who did she give life to? She didn't have children then. She gave life to him. See, people don't realize that
Oh,
Eve
nice.
gave
Nice.
life to Adam. That's right. Because how does the story go? He goes to all the animals, meaning, right? He goes to all the rivers. He goes to all the mountains and names them, right? And he knows that all the animals and names them, meaning that it was intimately, knew all the animals, meaning, but yet he couldn't find a helper. He couldn't find something that could satisfy him. It's like almost like a person who, can jump out of a plane. You do it once, and you kind of, it's like exciting. Por favor, telephone, por favor. So it's almost like you jump out of a plane, and it's exciting at first, right? But you do it a second time, it's like, it's not exciting anymore. You do it a third time, it doesn't give me enjoyment. And this is what it means that Adam went all to the animals and couldn't find anyone, meaning that he couldn't find real living. He couldn't find life. But now he's putting into a deep sleep, meaning like a prophecy. And behold, he has this woman, this equal. Finally, I have life. I have a reason to live, right? And he calls her Hava, meaning the mother of life, the Chaya, coming from life. Finally, Adam has a reason for living. Adam is finally a person that actually has a reason to live, and he doesn't need to be like a junkie that has to go to jump out of a plane or you know what I mean, or whitewater rafting to get excitement. Now he has an eternal purpose that came from him. Because where does it come from? It comes from his rib. It comes from within him. It's not an outside source giving him pleasure. It's an internal source that is perpetual.
Nice. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's like, I hope I don't touch any nerves here, but Judaism does have an aspect of where you get your
name.
Worship. I can't think of the word. I can't remember what the word is. But often, like in church, right? If you went to a church, they start hallelujah, praising the Lord, all this music. Yeah, you feel great in all of that, but that's coming externally. When you go into the world, you don't have the band, right? You don't have a soundtrack behind you. It has to come from within you.
Absolutely. Right.
And all right, it's a good point. She came from within him. Right? It wasn't something external. Sometimes people say, "Oh man, when I smoke this weed, I get so spiritual." Okay, fine, but it's coming from an external source. It's not coming from within you.
Right, and then of course, then, and it's sort of like a lead up. I mean, it's sort of like this microcosm of really the Exodus story, and it connecting it to this week's Parsha is this Adam and Eve story. It's sort of like, okay, you have Adam and Eve, which is in this garden, in the midst of a garden of holiness, right? And now they have to leave, right? They have to venture off, but they first get sort of the purpose of being there, right? Adam finally gets alive. He understands the animals. He understands what is right, what is wrong, good and bad, tree of life, tree of death, yada yada, and stuff. And they have to go out into the world and use what they had learned in this garden, this paradise. It's sort of like being. You can use this as an allegory as being born. You can use this as an allegory of the Israelites venturing off into the actual land, right? They're in the desert. They're in the spiritual place. Daddy takes care of them. Daddy feeds them. Everything's good. Their clothes doesn't wear out. Their sandals don't wear out. The food rains from heaven. The water never dries out. It's almost like being in this Garden of Eden, right? And they're slowly learning right from wrong because of the plagues, right? They stop at one location and some people die, some people live. There's a plague. There's not a plague. Yada yada. So it's almost like eventually you go out and now you're in Israel. You leave the desert, you enter the land, and now you're like on your own. You leave that garden. You don't have that protection anymore. the Heavenly Father's not there watching over the apples and make sure you don't take the wrong one anymore. It's you get what I'm saying. So it's almost like rectifying the Israelite story of entering into the Holy Land. It's like returning, right, to
the
God
tree
in
of
Eden.
life.
Right. It's the opposite. Adam ventured from the tree of life to the tree of knowledge, and then Israel goes from the tree of knowledge, which is Egypt, to the tree of life, which is Israel. It's 180.
It's tshuva, right? It's
Tshuva.
tshuva.
The same thing, like I like people think the book of Leviticus is like one of the most boring books of the Bible, and it really isn't, because the book of Leviticus, every one of the Cohen commandments that Moses tells Adam to tell, that tells Aaron, in the priesthood, like the laws against blood and menstruation, that corresponds to Eve, childbirth, and sweat of your brow you should work the land. It talks about the the laws of the Shemitah, that be special laws about working the field. So it's really rectifying. It's called tikkun, about you can really correct those things that maybe you can look at it as Adam and Eve and the serpent. Yes, they did an avera, and then God curses them and does these things to them. But really, you can look at it that way. But you can always, even though you're playing at a handicap, you can always win, right? That's really what goes against another. Not to bash on Christians, but Christians will say no matter how good you are, you can never win.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you can't win, right? The game is rigged against you. You need a cheat code, right? What's the cheat code? JC, right? That's the only way you can win the game. But really, what God is telling you in the book of Leviticus, in the book of Exodus, in the book of Deuteronomy, and the Numbers, is that really you don't need a cheat code, and not only don't you need a cheat code, but really you're winning, and you're on God mode, and you're beating the hell out of everything, and you're actually winning, and you're awesome, and God created you perfect, and you don't even realize how good you have it, and you don't realize you're gonna enter the Holy Land at the end. So why are you crying? Why are you upset? Why are you kretching? Because why are you complaining that you don't have good fish from Egypt anymore? God's feeding you manna from heaven. What are you, silly? What are you, dum? What's going on here? You're playing on God mode, and you're about to win, and you're kretching that you have it bad. Doesn't make sense. So really, it's the opposite of how we think. It's really, once you learn it from this perspective and you understand it that way, it's awesome. Judaism is awesome.
There's a midrash that says that the Satan, or Hasatan, is the voice inside of you that says, "Who are you? Who are you to ascend yourself? Who are you to improve? Who are you to be better than that?" And religion tends to, Christianity too. They tend to go with that. Who are you to think that you could rise above? And the whole point of Torah and the Jewish people, in my personal opinion, is to give you the instructions to prove that everything about that is wrong. Yes, not only are you supposed to ascend, you should. It'll be better for you, your family, your community, the world. In Judaism, you fight that. That's what Judaism does for me. I'm a self-hating mother. Okay, I'll be honest with you. I am not happy with anything ever, really. There's always room for improvement and whatnot. And what Torah does for me is it puts me on a more straight path. We lost John. Dang-nammit. All right, start talking. The mindset is everything, because where you are in your mind and your soul affects what you do in the world. You can look at it negatively. You can look at it like punishment. You can look at it. The point is, on the bare minimum, at least know what's wrong. That helps. But yeah, you got to flip the script. And that's what I was trying to elaborate. And I guess I run him off. Rosalie, Carla, ladies.
Yeah.
before you guys run off, how y'all doing?
Good.
Any thoughts on the
thanks.
Parsha this week? Anything striking your mind? Good, good. Anything on your mind? No?
Say a little prayer for me, okay? I got a PET scan tomorrow.
Ah. Well, to your health.
Thank you. I drink to it, but I have to do low carb today, so hey.
We haven't heard from you guys tonight. So what we've been discussing, of course, if you know the theme or the title of the hangout tonight, is the bittersweetness of growing up. And this is about the time that, in my opinion, things get a bit mushy. Miriam dies and Aaron is soon to follow, and we know what's coming. There seems to be a bittersweetness to this time in the wilderness. Any thoughts or anything? The passing of Miriam is what did it. And I guess she never hit me before. Aaron's death really affects me personally. I just hadn't explored Miriam's death before, and the loss of water and what both mean, But there seems to be a bittersweetness. Israel does cross, and Israel gets there, but we're starting to say goodbye to those who had led us out this far. Any thoughts about the bittersweetness of growing up on an individual or even collective level or human level, like we are now?
Death is inevitable. Talk.
True.
Yeah, but the thing is, with the striking of the stone and the talking to the stone, I too had a different take than what you guys did.
Okay.
It's like Moses already was told a few times to hit the rock and the water will come out. So it's like sometimes your habits will, and when you get angry and your habits will get you in trouble. So do not anger because you do things out of habit. God said, talk to the stone, don't hit it. And he said so. He says, wasn't my word good enough for you? I told you to talk to it, not hit it.
I was thinking that Moses might have been at this point when you go to your base humanistic instincts, he was expecting rebellion because he refers to them as you rebels.
He was flustered.
They're crying out for water. That's a legitimate case. I mean, come on, really. But I think after Korach and all that was lost with him and a lot of other history, I think he was maybe expecting rebellion or expecting something worse than it was.
He got tired of the same old issue, rebel, rebel, rebel. So he got flustered, and it's like, can't you guys believe in anything? And when in his frustrations, that's when he hit the rock instead of speaking to it.
Welcome back, Andre.
All right. Yes, sir. Shalom.
Shalom, shalom.
Not for sure if you guys can hear me.
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay, excellent.
But that's what I took out of that.
We do tend to go to base animal instincts when we get angry, don't we?
Mm-hmm. You can't think clearly. But it just means everybody's human and we all fail. So there we go.
Sure.
It doesn't mean to the degree of the failure. It just means, okay, I told you this, and Moses being as high up as he was, he failed and he fell big.
Does anybody know what the War of the Books of, or the book of the Wars of Hashem,
No,
What happened to that?
never heard of it.
This is my first time. And what
It's
was it called again?
it's in Numbers here. This is in the Stone Edition. It's Numbers 21, 14. Therefore it is said in the book of the wars of Hashem, the gift of the Red Sea, or the gift of the Sea of Reeds, and the rivers of Arnon, the outpouring of the rivers when it veered to dwell at Ar and leaned against the border of Moab. And from there to the well is the well of which Hashem said to Moses, assemble the people and I shall give them water. Okay, I'll read 10 before 14. 14 is where it starts, but it says, in 10 it says, the children of Israel journeyed and encamped at Oboth. They journeyed from Oboth and encamped in the ruins of the passes in the wilderness facing Moab, towards the rising sun. From there they journeyed and encamped in the valley of Zered. From there they journeyed and encamped on the other side of Arnon, which is in the wilderness. That juts out from the border of the Amorite. From Arnon is the border of Moab, between Moab and Amorite. Therefore it is said in the book of waters of Hashem, in the book of the wars of Hashem. Excuse me. I just didn't know if anybody knew what happened to that, because apparently people back then kept account of the wars, who died and who lived, and we just say it was lost with the first temple.
Possible.
I was wondering about that. I wish Gav was here. Gav is in Israel, and he could answer Andre's question. We were chatting before we went live. What's the proper etiquette when being an American, convert, a Garrett Tzaddik, a converted man, how do you visit Israel? And I'm like, wear black and white and don't look at anybody. I wouldn't know. Hopefully we'll get Rabbi Gavin here. Maybe Asher Mesa can shine some light as well. We'll see.
Yeah, or or do you bring your papers? I traveled up to New York and I made sure that I had my papers of conversion. And it was, I made sure that I made preparations, went to the shul, called ahead of time, made sure if they asked, I had my papers. And I just don't want to be in a foreign land, and I'm hemmed up in immigration for a week or two.
Are you going there long term or just to visit?
Just to visit.
What I've been told is to make a digital copy of your papers, a color digital copy, and take that with you. Don't take your originals because they may disappear. And also have a physical copy and a digital copy, like in Dropbox or something where you can grab it.
Right.
And do you have any idea of where you want to go?
Well, I was going to look at, of course, Jerusalem, Abraham's tomb.
Oh, that's not going to be a problem. That's not going to be a problem. I've been there even before I can I'm not even converted yet, and I've been there. That was not an issue. But going into congregations for events and stuff, because I was there for a while, that got kind of hairy. So what they told me to do was call my congregation that I was affiliated with at the time here, have them call for me.
Okay.
So you kind of have to have kind of a game plan. Are you trying? What's that ultra orthodox area? Mirshera or something? Are you
Yes.
trying to go to any of the ultra orthodox areas?
Well, no, actually, I was planning on. I know people that lives in Demonia, Israel. I was planning on going there, going to the Temple Mount area, to the Wailing Wall, and just catch kind of. I know a couple of people there, but I'm
You,
just concerned when I get off the plane and go through customs.
you have
Do
a
I
passport,
look?
right?
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes. I
Yeah.
and the
I'm a black girl with a big fro. They didn't trip.
okay.
They asked me a lot of questions. I mean, I'm not trying to sound crazy, but they asked me a lot of questions like, why are you here and stuff like that. But as long as you're not trying to be cagey, I didn't have a problem, and no one else in my group had a problem.
Oh, okay. Okay. Then so it's typical because I've been around the world, a couple of places, India, Southeast Asia, Central South America. I never had no problems there. So general questions then.
Yeah, they just want to make sure that you're
Okay.
not. But don't tell them that you're going to Des Moines. Don't tell them that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that
Good.
you got to keep to yourself
Right.
because there are a lot of the Black Hebrew Israelites that go there saying that they're coming, just to visit, like as a tourist, and then they go and try and claim Aliyah and Demona.
Right.
So I wouldn't say that you're going there, but the rest just say, you want to visit the Holy Land.
Okay. Now, do I need to tuck in my zeets, or do I need to wear because I'm here in America, I'm in Dallas, and I wear my zeets every day, yarmulke, the whole nine. So that's
I'm
what
not sure
I'm.
about that. You should ask a male convert that because I don't know what they do.
Okay. Yeah, and what kind of concerned me was it was last night I was looking through a newspaper, and I ran across this article about this African American. He converted. He was a teacher, well respected here in America, teaching um, Hebrew, and he was living the life in the community. He went to Israel for a film festival, and before he even got to the film festival, he was stopped in customs. They gave him a hard time. They tried to make him say he wasn't really a Jew. It was horrible in this news article, and I I never phantomed something like that in Israel. You know, it
Yeah,
was
I would.
just kind of
Wow, that's really sad. But I would just make sure that you have people here in your community that know that you're going. So
mhm.
if they do question, they can call them. I know there's a huge time difference, but that is what we were told to do.
Right. Okay. Okay, because I spoke, I'm I converted under Rabbi Fune of Chicago, and
Oh,
right.
that's
So
that's a different situation.
yeah, and I haven't. I'm gonna reach out and talk to him because last year he went with a couple of other uh, men. They went to Ethiopia, and then they went to Israel. They didn't have no problems. So I might have to tag along in a group or something.
That may help. That may help too, because I just assume when you say you converted, you did an RCA conversion. Going through
Mhm.
that group is a little different than the RCA conversions when it comes to visiting Israel.
Okay. So and I've been communicating with some people in New York, and
Hmm.
I'm gonna ask them about the RCA conversion because I just I mean every time any place I go in North America, I call, I let them know who I am. Went to Mexico City, the shul there. Call, let them know, sent my passport, my documents, digital, and I didn't have no problems.
Oh well, see, I had a
Then
problem getting into Mexico.
really,
That Yeah, yeah. One thing is like women typically are not involved there, but I was like, oh, I'll just go to the conservative congregation. No, it was the same for the conservative congregation too.
Hmm.
I was really surprised.
Wow. I didn't have no problem there. It took them a while to, I guess they checked me out and did a background check. But once they gave me the go, I went there and had a great time.
That's awesome.
So, and also, I'm gonna say, uh, earlier in the beginning, this platform is about to go off air August the 1st. And there's a new platform that everybody been using. I use it at work to communicate with my teams. It's called Slack. And what you do is you form a group, you send invites, and you can use Zoom, Skype. It's really awesome. You can download the app, create your teams, group discussions. Even if you have documents, you can even connect it to your Dropbox.
How's it
And
spelled?
hop.
How,
It's spelled Slack.
Can you broadcast it?
I believe so. I'm
Slack.
not for sure on that, but I know I communicate with my teams, both school and at work. Um, I'm not for sure how that part will work, but I'm gonna look into that, and I will let you know.
Thank you. One of the great things that YouTube does is makes this a live broadcast for the common man, for the general public.
Right.
We'll still meet up on Thursdays, I'm sure, but if we can, I've got a broadcaster. Maybe I could broadcast it on YouTube. That's good to know. Yeah, let me know. I have to look into that myself.
Yeah, I just just did a screenshot of the app. So, and maybe we could get together if, like, if you have documents, maybe we can hash out Dropbox and make a file that you can put things in there and so forth.
I just put the URL on, and boy, is it a long one.
It is.
In a side chat here, but that's where work
Oh.
happens.
We'll check it out.
It's a collaboration hub where the right people and the right information come together, helping everyone get work done.
Right.
All right. We might be able to still broadcast it. We'll see how that goes.
Okay.
If not, there's always Discord.
Oh,
What about YouTube? Not YouTube, but what about Facebook? Can you do the whole live stream with Facebook and YouTube?
I don't think so.
you can do it. One person can do it, but
Right.
you can't have a group of people.
Unless they're in there with the person actually doing it.
Yeah. And like when someone goes in and out, it creates problems with it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But you know that. Oh.
I was just going to say part of the reason we started this was to create a conversation that might induce further thought on Torah. Much like Bill Moyer pulled together people. He would pull a historian with a rabbi, with a imam or a Muslim lady, and then a Protestant over here or a Catholic priest. And he brought these people together to talk about Genesis, relatable to all people. Right, and it was if you get a chance to see it, it's called the Genesis discussion, or excuse me, the Genesis conversation, I believe. Bill Moyer, excellent series. I've got the book, the companion book. Really good stuff. but it was to share this experience, this topic, this discussion with the world. And I'm hoping I would pay $6 a month if that's what it takes to continue doing what we're doing. And apparently Google's working on an updated, much more sleek and easier to work version of this. It's just going to be for people who pay. If that's what it takes. I mean, $6 a month, and if we can get people to chip into that, it would be easy to keep that.
Right.
We'll see. We'll see how it works. Anything from this week's Parsha or the Haftorah if anyone wants to discuss before we kill the live portion of the broadcast or the discussion tonight? Any insights? Any general insights into growing up? Israel has to grow up. And Moses couldn't see them enter, much like our children. Any thoughts?
God's still in charge of the world and doing what he wants it done.
So I'll give you something that somebody told me this week.
All right.
How's it go? So Moses hits the rock twice when God tells him to speak to the rock, right? But then he takes the staff that's before God in his hand and he goes and he strikes the rock twice. But why does Moses strike the rock twice and then God says, and now I'm sanctified? So there's this idea that Moses sacrificed his life in order for the whole of Israel to not be killed, because later on we hear that God destroys the temple instead of destroying the nation of Israel. But if Moses, the Midrash says, if Moses had went into the land and built the temple could have never been destroyed, because Moses was on such a level that he would have built the everlasting temple, and therefore when Israel sinned, Israel would have been destroyed and God would have made a new nation out of Moses. So I think that sometimes we tend to look at Moses and he rebelled against God, or he didn't, he lashed out of anger, instead of looking at the greater picture where Moses hit the rock twice. He broke both temples, and gave up
That's good.
in order to keep the nation of Israel alive. And so God was now sanctified amongst the people, because now he could constantly be amongst the people, the same people, not a new people.
I like that.
And if I could remember all the sources, there's a bunch of verses that you can pull together that just, really kind of elucidate to this very thing.
Anybody else? A closing thought, because we have folks of all kind coming here. We've got the Ger Tzaddik, like Yochanan, Andre, people who convert and become fully Jewish. William, working on it. I think what we forget, Carla is on a long journey as well, too long, like Yochanan. But the Midrash says that Jethro circumcised himself. A great effort on the part of the individual to get closer to that Holy of Holies. We should encourage that whenever it can happen. And if not, I think one thing that I wish Han and John would consider is that it's not so bad to not be fully converted, because you're still included. I'm not sure Israel is. I don't know what to say because I'm not. I wanted to become Jewish, and then life dealt me a different hand. But one of the messages that I try to get across of the ger in the Torah, and Saba Chlorphine said it recently on a Facebook post. I talked to him or I asked him, and the reply was, a B'nai Noach who accepts the God of Israel can stand shoulder to shoulder with a Jew. I really think that third element to Israel, that fourth element to Israel is real. And, John shouldn't panic that he's not eating or shouldn't, I can understand. I can understand when you're eating something, it's not quite what you are, not quite halakha, not quite, I understand. I really do. I understand the differentiation. But, when you're not converting, I think that we can at least know that you're, according to Torah, that you're kind of accepted anyway. And Israel's in no position, in my opinion, to make conversion on a universal basis. We've heard stories in here, man. But really there is leniency, if you will. And I hate to say the word leniency, but when you're a ger, you're in. If you've accepted the children of Israel, their place in the world, and you want to be a part of that process, in my opinion, you're kind of in. Halakhically, it's debatable, but don't lose faith. I mean, John circumcised himself. This isn't Lashon Hara. He made it public. I mean, he went and had himself circumcised above the age of 1.
Oh.
It's like what Jethro did. He's in. Jethro's in. He's already in. Moses said, "Come, we'll take care of you. Come on in." A great approach. I think Israel is the spearhead. The world needs Israel. I'm not so sure if a truly Jewish Torah-based society in the land is going to be the spearhead into the new world, into the next phase of our, if you will, spiritual evolution. I don't know if it'll be they spearhead it or if it will be seen as something that kind of happens with the world. Once Israel gets their stuff together, the world will change. I think both are correct. I don't know. But that's my gig. That's my final words. Anybody else have a final word? Aaron, Andre, Carla, Rosalie, William, anybody want to say something before I shut this down?
Shabbat shalom.
That's easy. All right. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think I talked enough for today. but yeah, Shabbat shalom.
And Shabbat shalom from Dallas, Texas.
All right, y'all. Shabbat shalom from all of us here for William, Rosalie, Carla, Andre, and Aaron, Yochanan, and all those who couldn't be with us. Shabbat shalom, y'all. We'll see you on the flip side.
Okay.